The New York Times published on Saturday an investigation into drone strikes, the preferred method of the U.S. military since 2014 in its war against terrorist groups in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, revealing the deaths of thousands of civilians, false intelligence, and inevitable collateral damage. Based on 1,300 reports by the Pentagon on civilian casualties that the newspaper obtained under the administration's Transparency Act, this investigation is a blow to the U.S. government's precision strike perception of drones. Documents extracted from the Pentagon's hidden archive of the U.S. air war in the Middle East since 2014, revealed false intelligence, hasty and often inaccurate targeting, and the killing of thousands of civilians, including a large number of children. Instead of promises of transparency during the era of Barack Obama, who was the first U.S. president to resort to drone strikes to avoid the killing of American soldiers, there was a blackout and impunity, according to the American newspaper, which resorted to filing a number of lawsuits against the Pentagon and the Central Command of the U.S. Army, CENTCOM, to obtain these documents. During 5 years, the U.S. military launched more than 50,000 air strikes in Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq, as reported by Agence France-Presse. It has admitted that 1,417 civilians have been mistakenly killed in air strikes in Syria and Iraq since 2014. The official death toll in Afghanistan is 188 civilians since 2018. In this investigation, which took months, the newspaper analyzed the documents it obtained, verified the facts on the ground, and checked official information about more than 100 sites that were bombed. Many of the aforementioned facts were known before, but the investigation revealed that the number of civilian casualties admitted by the Pentagon was clearly understated. The newspaper pointed out that people running towards a site that was bombed were considered to be ISIS fighters, while they were rescuers. While the movement of motorcyclists was considered as preparation for an imminent attack. According to U.S. Defense Department documents, only 4% of errors in identifying the enemy resulted in civilian casualties. However, the field investigation conducted by the newspaper indicates that the rate of these incidents is 17%, during which 1/3 of the civilian casualties were killed and injured. Cultural factors also had a significant impact. The American military considered that a house they were watching in a country that the newspaper did not specify, had no civilians during one of the days of Ramadan, while several families were sleeping during the day inside it during the fasting month to take shelter from the heat. In most cases, poor photographs, or insufficient surveillance time contributed to the strikes, which resulted in civilian casualties. It also curbed investigation attempts. The U.S. military confirmed the credibility of 216 out of 1,311 cases studied by the newspaper. The military rejected reports of civilian casualties, because the videos did not show bodies under the rubble or because they were not long enough to draw conclusions. Among the reported facts, strikes carried out by U.S. Special Forces on July 19, 2016 targeted what were believed to be 3 areas in northern Syria used by ISIS to prepare for its attacks. But the strikes killed 120 farmers and villagers. The New York Times quoted a spokesman for the U.S. Central Command, Bill Urban, as saying that even with the best technologies in the world, errors occur, either because of wrong information or a misinterpretation of the available information. We are doing our best to avoid harm. We investigate all credible cases and we regret every loss of innocent life, he added. In another example, a strike was carried out in November 2015 in the Ramadi region of Iraq after a man was spotted dragging an unidentified heavy object to an ISIS position. And it was found in a report prepared after a review that the object was a child killed in a raid. Finally, the United States was forced to retract its assertion that a car destroyed by a drone on a Kabul street last August was loaded with bombs. It was later revealed that the victims of the strike were 10 members of one family. The report indicates that a large number of civilians who were injured in U.S. strikes and who survived suffer disabilities that require costly treatment, and that less than 12 of them have received financial compensation. Before launching air strikes, the military is supposed to scrutinize detailed reports to estimate and reduce civilian deaths. But the information provided can lead to errors. A spokesman for the U.S. Central Command stressed that the air war planners are doing their best under extremely difficult circumstances. However, in many combat situations, where the targets face numerous credible threats and do not have the time, the fog of war can lead to decisions that tragically result in harm to civilians, he added. The newspaper considered that what appears at the end of reviewing more than 5,400 pages of documents, is that the Army is an institution that accepts that collateral damage is inevitable. The New York Times published on Saturday an investigation into drone strikes, the preferred method of the U.S. military since 2014 in its war against terrorist groups in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, revealing that